Yo, what is up guys? So today we have some news and updates on Battlefield 6. But before we get into that, I just want to take a look at the sales numbers because they are absolutely insane. You can see that Battlefield 6 is currently the #1 top selling game on every single major platform, including Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox. And we also have some analytics data that shows that Battlefield 6 has sold over 6.5 million copies, has over $350 million in revenue, and we can also take a look at the copies sold by platform, with 56% being sold on Steam, 23% being sold on PlayStation, and 20% being sold on Xbox. And in a recent press release from EA, you can see that Battlefield 6 hit all-time highs for the franchise sales during the first 3 days of launch, selling over 7 million copies and counting. And this is just pretty wild to think about when you compare it to the highest selling Battlefield game, which is Battlefield 3, which sold 17 million copies in its entire lifetime, and Battlefield 6 has almost done that in 3 days. Not to mention that it's already beat 2042, which only sold 7 to 9 million copies depending on what source, although to be honest that's not particularly surprising. And if we take a look at the Steam charts, we can actually see a relative downtrend from the all-time peak of 750,000, and we do know that EA does have a player target to reach 100 million players, but with this downtrend it's going to be interesting to see whether they can actually achieve this. Now, of course, it's only a few days after the launch, and there are new pieces of content coming up in the future. We also have Season 1 coming out in a few days, and the Battle Royale, which will probably bring a spike of new users. Now, we also have some news that Battlefield 6 is currently banning Cronus Zen users with this message, as you can see on screen. Now, if you don't know what a Cronus Zen is, I've personally never used one, but apparently it's a hardware device that you can plug in between your input method, whether that be a keyboard and mouse or controller, and this will essentially inject macros and scripts between your input and the game to basically give you aimbot and other cheats. So it's good to see that EA is taking this seriously and banning these cheaters. Now, if you've been playing Battlefield 6 for any length of time, you've probably encountered some sort of hit reg issues. I know I've personally experienced a lot of hit reg issues in the first few days of the game, but luckily the principal game designer has seen this issue, and he says in a recent tweet, "We are rolling out a fix to address this issue, seeing where bullets hit an enemy and where blood splatters are visible but don't cause damage. The issue happened intermittently with certain weapons and attachment combinations and should now be resolved." So it's good to see the developers are taking feedback and actively making fixes. Now, in addition to the hit reg issues, we've been seeing huge amounts of bloom and dispersion with guns, and we can see from this Tactical Brit video just how bugged the dispersion and bloom feature is in the game.
In like a mildly toxic way. In like a mildly toxic way. God damn it. Bro just can't let me have my fun. See, that was a perfect example of that. That was a perfect example of my spread just not resetting. Bro just can't let me have my fun.
Now, the principal game designer has said that the team is working on this, and they're looking at a general balance and tuning of dispersion too. Now, I've personally experienced the insane amount of dispersion, especially on the ARs, and honestly it kind of makes the game unplayable, especially if you're trying to reach targets at long to medium range. And obviously I've played a lot of Battlefield 4, and obviously burst firing or tap firing is pretty much required in Battlefield games, and that's totally normal. I don't think they should get rid of the dispersion or the bloom completely. They do definitely need to tone it down a little bit. Now, we also have an update from the Battlefield comms team that says they've reduced the starting ticket count across all conquest maps, so matches finish at a more natural pace. Previously, many rounds were hitting the time limit instead of ending when one team ran out of tickets. You'll keep monitoring the feedback and data to make sure the flow of each match feels right, and you can take a look at the values of tickets they're going to change. Now, personally, I don't even think that they should change the ticket amounts, or that there should even be a timer in the first place in Conquest. And you can see in the comments of or the replies of this tweet that basically everyone is saying to just leave the ticket count where it is and to simply get rid of the time limits or increase the time limit. And I would certainly agree with this. It seems that they're making some kind of player retention, data driven decision rather than just listening to what players actually want. But this is what EA does at the end of the day. Now, we also have an update that DICE has no plans to change the movement speed in Battlefield 6, and the principal game designer also clarified that they won't be going back to open beta movement, which to me honestly kind of sucks because I did prefer the movement in the open beta. The current movement system just feels a little bit sluggish, almost like Apex Legends rather than Battlefield. Obviously I do know there was a lot of people doing crazy, almost COD style movements in the beta, but to be fair, most people weren't doing that. It was just a few clips online, and you needed to be relatively skilled to actually pull off these movements. And honestly, increasing the skill ceiling for movement wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. Now, Battlefield has also received its first quality of life update, and on PC it's only 26 to 27 megabytes, and on PlayStation Xbox it's only 600 to 700 megabytes. So relatively small update. I don't think there's gonna be that many big game-changing things in this update, probably just some like back-end stuff, but it's good to see that the updates are massive, like in Call of Duty where there's like 20 gigabyte updates or something like that. But obviously I guess we'll see in the future how big the updates are. Now we also have a report that following today's Battlefield 6 update, some standard edition owners are getting Phantom Edition skins for free, and honestly this is just kind of embarrassing for EA. At first they had the EA app game not working, and then they said they'll give people XP tokens, then some people didn't get XP tokens. Then they had people who bought the Phantom Edition not getting the skins, and now they're giving people who don't even have the Phantom Edition the skins. So I don't know, it's just kind of embarrassing for EA right now, but hopefully they'll fix this in the future. We also have an update from Vince Zampella, who's the Battlefield boss, who stated that as part of their commitment to deliver non-stop entertainment to players, each season of Battlefield 6 will feature distinct phases with brand new content every month, starting with Season 1 on October 28th. He also said that all gameplay impacting features will be free or earnable as part of their commitment to fair play and access for all players. So this is a good sign. Hopefully they will stick to this promise, because obviously in previous Battlefields they have, and in previous games like Call of Duty, where essentially they've broken the game by putting things behind a paywall and just trying to juice the player base for as much money as possible. But I guess only time will tell whether they will actually keep this promise. But that's all I have for you guys today in this video. If you liked the video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.